All right. Good morning. What's up, everybody? Matt Moda here with another live stream of Fast Break Bets presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be going through the first round of the NBA playoffs. So even as the NBA season, the regular season comes to an end, you can still count on these streams. As for today, excuse me, just a massive slate of games. We have 12 games. I'm going to have a pick for every single game except for one. As of right now, I'm completely sitting out the Lakers-Grizzlies game. I need to see who plays in that game because the Lakers are on the second half of a back-to-back after playing a really intense double overtime game yesterday. And we've seen situations where we've gotten burned by teams on the second half of a back-to-back. Even if they play guys, they only play them in the first half or something like that. So if you want picks for that game, I'd recommend waiting, getting injury clarity, and then checking out the BettingPros app to see what they have with their projections and cheat sheet and stuff. As for last stream, amazing. It was literally the best stream that we've had in terms of profit. We were up 6.52 units last stream. Literally only one play that we gave out lost. Just an incredible day that we had last stream. Let's hope we can keep it going. That now makes it, I looked this up, we're up over 10 units in our last 9 streams overall. I think we've had 2 or 3 days that have been down since then. So we had a really rough stretch earlier in the year that we're now seeming to get over, which is great. I would love to end end the streams with a profit, which we're getting really, really close to. We're down like less than a unit, which is great. Most importantly, obviously subscribe, but most importantly after that is get your questions, your comments, everything in the chat. I love when these streams are interactive as possible. So I see people in here first. Clutch Too Real was the first one to comment. Appreciate that. Mr. Mechanical, what's up? Yes, we are also excited for MLB as well. We're going to be giving out home run props for that. And then Selena Kyle, great calls. Yeah, I'm assuming either yesterday, which was another good day. I didn't have a stream, but if you followed the shorts, it was great yesterday. And then obviously Mondays was great as well. Enough of that. Let's get into today's picks. The first one that we're going to talk about here, and I guess I should say at the very end, we're going to be doing our same game parlay as well, using the BettingPros same game parlay builder. I should have mentioned that as well. Anyways, first pick that we're going to lock in here, Cavaliers versus Hornets game. Caris LeVert over 6.5 assists plus 100 odds. This is best offered on DraftKings. If the odds change over the course of when I put these numbers in, you can obviously look at DraftKings on the screen here to see. So Monday's stream, one of the plays that we got to cash was LeVert rebounds plus assists. As for today, I just want to ride with the assists specifically. Now, he did cash his assist number last game against the Hornets. He had 7, and the over-under here is 6.5. But normally I like to fade those type of results, especially when it's like not a back-to-back in terms of they're playing on back-to-back days, but back-to-back games against each other. Like literally Cavs and Hornets played on Monday. But I actually think riding with his assist number again tonight instead of just rebounds is really good because he only had 1 assist in the first half. I chalked this up to an L after the first half, and then he had 6 assists in the second half. And that was also a game in which Darius Garland kind of woke up from his assist slumber. He had 10 assists in that game. But if you look at his recent games, his last 10 or so, Garland hasn't really been getting that many assists, right? He's been struggling pretty decent amount from an assist perspective. So it makes sense why he had a good game Monday. He broke out of that a little bit. But I kind of like things to swing back the other way with Caris LeVert actually taking on more of a playmaking duty than Darius Garland. If you look at since March 1st, LeVert actually averages more assists per 36 minutes than Darius Garland does. He averages 8.5 assists per 36, and he plays a decent amount of minutes too now with all the injuries that the Cavs had. Well, Darius Garland, he's only at 6.9 assists per 36 minutes. So I love the assist angle for LeVert even more than I did on Monday, just because we kind of get to fade recent we kind of get to fade recent results. It's also a really good matchup, which is why I was on it on Monday in general. The Hornets allow the 5th most assists per game to Caris LeVert's playmaking style. I'm not going to do anything with his rebounds, but if you wanted to be spicy, you could sprinkle a double-double. That's bet plus 525 odds. Most likely he's getting to 10 assists, but you do have the benefit in the off chance that he gets to 10 rebounds. So, I mean, if you're going to take the double-double, put like 0.1 units on that, like something, not a lot at all, maybe like a quarter unit, something like that. But I do kind of like that angle. Christopher Rodriguez yesterday was great. Yes, it was. Let's hope today's great as well. Brian French, what's up? Sam Young, appreciate the kind words. Favorite show. I appreciate that. There's a lot of shows that you can watch, so that's always nice to hear that from people. All right, so that's our first play. Next up, Warriors versus Magic game. I'm taking Steph Curry over 25.5 points. This is also best offered on DraftKings at -105 odds. This was a play that I confirmed using the Betting Pros app and their projections. It's a slightly positive expected value play. Like they project Steph to score over 26 points in this one, like between 26 and 27. So it's not a massive gap between what we're taking Steph at and what Betting Pros has his projected points, but it's still above. And that's always good when we can have that in our favor. And in terms of the matchup, it's actually a surprisingly good matchup for Steph, which you would not expect because of how good the Magic defense is. The Magic defense are incredibly stout, specifically in the interior. They do not give up a lot of points on the interior. They really crowd that. But they can be had by perimeter guards like Steph, who can pull up from anywhere, who are adept in the pick and roll. And for that exact reason, that's exactly why if you look at defenses the wording here, I always kind of fumble with my words, but you can look at how defenses perform against certain props in certain positions, right? And it actually takes into account what the player's over-under was. And the Magic are listed as the 5th best matchup in the NBA, specifically when it comes to point guard point props. Hopefully that makes sense. But it's exactly what I talked about. Like the reason why is because their defense is great. One area in which they give up, again, is the point guards who run a bunch of pick and rolls who can pull up. Now, this is also a nice fade of recent results. The Warriors just played last night, and Steph only scored 17 points. But that was against the Heat. The Heat are like could not be more opposite defense in terms of how they play. They also don't give up a lot on the interior. But the Heat strategy is they swarm the opposing team's best player, basically saying like anybody is going to beat us except the best player when they can. It doesn't always work, obviously. But they'll sell out to do that. That's the reason why the Heat give up a lot of catch and shoot 3-pointers is because they aggressively double the team's best player. Steph had 6 assists yesterday on an over under of 4.5. Clay went off yesterday. For tonight, I see this being a Steph game. So I like the over 25.5 points. It actually went up. It was 24.5 and it keeps climbing. So I think we will be able to get some positive CLV here. And yeah, I guess the odds already changed since I locked this in myself. I see Brandon Miller 3 balls is not a bad play either. Brandon Miller, I feel like it's not like he's had a bad year. I just always catch him on the wrong night. So he always feels worse than how he actually has been playing this year. And then Matthew Chalk, first of all, great first name, asking about Nic Claxton. We're going to get into that game. Literally is going to be our next pick. And then Jalen, Caris LeVert, 1 blocks and steals. Is that like over 0.5 stop, like combined steals and blocks or over 1 each? Because combined, I think that's pretty good. All right. Nets Wizards. I promised I would get to this one. We're taking Nic Claxton over 11.5 rebounds plus 105 odds again at DraftKings. DraftKings giving us very good odds this morning. So I'm going to have a lot of notes on this one. This is another slightly positive expected value play, kind of similar to the Steph one. Betting Pros projects Claxton to go over 11.5 rebounds. They project him to have about 12 rebounds. They give him a 50.8% chance of going over 11.5. But considering we're getting this for plus money, like that's actually really good, strictly from an expected value perspective. Like EV is all about the win. What is the win percentage of your bet versus what is the implied win percentage of the odds? Implied win percentage of plus money is below 50%, whereas Betting Pros projects it to hit at a 50% rate. So good from an EV perspective. And for those of you that tuned into Monday's stream, we were on Nic Claxton rebounds on Monday. And it's almost for the exact same logic, just a different matchup. We were on Nic Claxton rebounds against the Raptors. Over the past 30 days, the Raptors are allowing the most rebounds per game to centers. Today, Nic Claxton and the Nets play the Wizards. The Wizards are allowing the second most rebounds per game to centers over the past 30 days. In that game against the Raptors, Claxton had 16 rebounds. For those of you that also followed on Monday, we were on another center rebound prop against the Wizards, which was Nikola Vucevic. He had 16 rebounds in that game. Overall, 4 straight centers have cashed their rebound over against the Wizards. And if you look specifically at how Nic Claxton rebounds, the Wizards are listed as the number 1 matchup for his rebounding profile. And I went into this in the last stream. The reason why, I always like to kind of give specific NBA analysis as much as I can with these picks as opposed to just raw numbers. The reason why centers are such a good rebounding prop against the Wizards is because of how the Wizards shoot, right? Like they don't shoot a ton of jumpers. And for centers, you want to target their rebound props against teams that shoot close to the basket, within 5 feet, the paint area. And the Raptors, they shoot the third most shots within 5 feet of the basket over the past 10 games. That's the team that Nic Claxton just had 16 rebounds against. The Wizards are not far behind them. They're literally one spot behind the Raptors, attempting the 4th most shots within 5 feet from the basket. So it's a little bit scary backing the same player in back-to-back games, but it's almost as good of a matchup against the Raptors that he had on Monday. And like I said, he had 16 rebounds in that game. All right, couple questions I want to get to here. Kevin Durant over 2 threes. I have a play in that game that's not Kevin Durant. I personally am not putting any money on that Suns Nuggets game until I know who's playing. I'm going to get into it in more details when I actually get to that game. It's also going to be the very last one. But I need to see who's playing. But if we get fully healthy teams, or I guess more so the Nuggets, because they are like the whole starting lineup is questionable, then I will have an SGP for that game as well. LeVert over 1.5 blocks and steals. I don't look a ton into that specific metric. I feel like a lot of times blocks and steals, unless you're like with Victor Wembanyama, is pretty subjective. Are you still doing first quarter props? I looked into a couple today, but none really stuck out to me. I would recommend following me on Twitter, and I'll post more, or you can check the BettingPros app for odds that they have as well. Love betting rebounds versus Wizards. Me too, my friend. All right. We're 3 picks deep, and this might be a longer stream with 12 games, so I apologize. Anyways, I want to talk to you about DraftKings Sportsbook. So the thrill and excitement of March Mania is here. I know we're doing an NBA stream, but we're still in the middle of March Madness. This is an awesome Sweet 16 that we have. And DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. If you like UConn to repeat as national champions, to go back-to-back, go ahead and lock in a futures play on DraftKings. Again, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use promo code FANTASYPROS, and that will give new customers, again, a chance to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets, only at DraftKings Sportsbook, again, with code FANTASYPROS. The crown is yours. Okay, next up, Blazers versus Hawks game. I'm taking Dejounte Murray over 9.5 assists. Really good price here, plus 114 odds at DraftKings. Normally, these are plays that I would want to fade. I have to be honest with you. But Dejounte Murray has been so good as a playmaker recently that instead of fading those recent results, I'm just going to want to ride with them as long as possible. In the last 5 games, he has cashed 10 or more assists, literally in all 5. In all 5 games, he has cashed 10 or more assists. In the last 2 specifically, he's had 12 and 15 assists. Again, normally I fade those recent results because eventually the other side is going to come. But he has such a good matchup against the Blazers that tonight's not the night where I'm going to fade him. Maybe next game, depending on the matchup. I haven't really looked into that one. But for tonight, I'm going to stay in the flames and ride the fire with Dejounte. Similar playmakers to Dejounte Murray have just crushed their assist over-under against the Hawks. And I mentioned this before, but in the 2-game stretch, James Harden and the Clippers played the Blazers. James Harden had 24 combined assists in those games combined, with 10 and 14 assists in those 2 games. And he had 17 and 16 potential assists in those 2 games as well. And not only has Murray been racking up a bunch of assists, but the number that you can really look to project forward is potential assists. That's a good number too. In his last 10 games, he's averaging 16.2 potential assists per game. That's the second most in the entire NBA in the last 10 games. Again, that's his last 10 games, not even including his last 5, in which he's had 10 assists in every single game. The only 2 players above, I guess I said second most, it's third most, excuse me. The third most potential assists in the past 10 games. The only 2 guys above him are James Harden, who we're going to get into, and Luka Doncic, 2 incredible assist guys. So Mr. Mechanical saying Murray's been on fire. He absolutely has been. So we're just got to hope that continues today. All right. Do you like Rashawn Holmes over 7.5 rebounds? I didn't look into that one, to be honest with you. I don't think he's a great rebounder, so I probably would not take that. James Harden over 1.5 first quarter assists is minus 133 on Caesars. I don't love the minus 133 odds, but I mean, 2 assists for Harden in the first quarter is really good. Off topic, would he like in college to win it all? I think Connecticut is the most likely team to win it all, but I actually put my money on Purdue. I think Purdue is going to win it all. The narrative of them losing to a 16 seed and then pulling off the UVA and winning the next season, I mean, come on, it's too easy. Anyways, next up, Clippers versus 76ers game. I'm taking James Harden, who we just talked about, over 24.5 points plus assists. Best offered at minus 105 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. So this was technically James Harden over his points plus assist prop is a positive expected value play via Betting Pros. They list the positive EV play as over 23.5, but they project him to have over 25 combined points plus assists. So it's still a good play from a projections perspective, getting him over 24.5, and we're getting better odds at the minus 105. Now, this is going to feel gross, and I understand it because James Harden has actually been really good as a passer, but he has not been good as a scorer at all. But revenge matchup going against the Sixers in Philadelphia. Now, he did just play the Sixers on Sunday. That was obviously not in Philly. That was in LA. And he didn't have a horrible game in that game by any means. He scored 8 points in the first quarter. He had 10 at halftime. And then he just kind of slowed down in the second half. He only scored 2 points in the second half, ending with 12 overall. But he had 14 assists in that game. So he could have another horrible scoring game. He could also have another 14 assists and probably would catch this over if that happened. So I think that he could have another good scoring game, another meaning how he performed in the first quarter, but over the course of a game, not just one quarter. So that's why I wanted to combine the two as opposed to just taking assists, because I do think that this could be a game where he scores 20 plus points. But I would say the most likely scenario is that he blows up his assist number specifically. So with that in mind, I'm also taking him to get to 10 plus assists. That's at plus 170 odds is what I got that at. I put a half unit on that as a ladder play. Now, admittedly, points, if we want to just go back to that, have been a little bit harder to come by for Harden. He's only like his mainline point total is 15.5. That's a number he's missed in 3 straight games and in 7 of his last 10. Harden at this point in his career is not nearly the consistent scorer that he was before, but prior to that, he had cashed 16 or more points in 14 of 20 games. So that's a pretty decent sample size where he played really well. And now it's the last 10 games where he slowed down. I think it's going to swing back the other way from a scoring perspective. And then as for assists, he's just been amazing from an assist perspective. He's gotten at least 10 assists in 5 of his last 8 games. And in one game that he missed, he had exactly 9. So if he scores 16 points and 9 assists, that would cash this. Math is hard, but he would cash that. That would be great for us. And looking at his past 10 games, he's averaging the second most potential assists in the entire NBA and literally averaging the most actual assists in the entire game as well. In the game against the Sixers on Sunday, he had 22 potential assists. Again, he had 14 actual. I wouldn't be surprised if he had another 20 plus potential assists while actually being able to scoring 15 plus points in this one. So it's going to feel gross, but I think that riding with James Harden is the way to go tonight. Next up, Knicks versus Raptors game. I'm taking Josh Hart over 12.5 rebounds. Minus 109 odds is the best offered price per the Betting Pros consensus. This is another play probably similar to Nic Claxton, where you're saying that's simply too high of a number. And I get it. 13 rebounds is a high number for someone that's not a center and for a game that could be a blowout. But even though he's not technically a center, Josh Hart rebounds like a center for all intents and purposes. For example, he has gone over 12.5 rebounds in 5 of his last 7 games. In this 7-game stretch, he's averaging 21.7 rebound opportunities per game. That's the 5th most in the NBA. All 4 guys above him are really, really high usage. Not usage is the wrong word, but centers that get a lot of rebounds, for lack of a better word. I was trying to sound more intelligent. Centers that get a lot of rebounds are the only 4 that are above Josh Hart. Giannis, Anthony Davis, Sabonis, and Rudy Gobert. So he's in that type of category in terms of rebounds. Now he gets an excellent opportunity against the Raptors, who have been allowing a million rebounds to everybody recently. Even though Josh Hart isn't a center, this is still a really good matchup specifically for his rebounds. The Raptors are allowing the second most rebounds per game to Josh Hart's rebounding style, which again is more like a center. And if you look at the Knicks' actual center, Isaiah Hartenstein, the Raptors are only allowing the 15th most rebounds to his rebounding style. That just kind of shows just to illustrate my point a little bit further. And then Brian, wouldn't it be safe to take on the double-double for Hart? I looked at the odds and they were like minus 250. So yeah, that is safer, but the odds are significantly worse. And then for Josh Hart, he plays in like 40 minutes a game, even in games that are blowouts. He plays 40 minutes. So just more opportunity to get a bunch of rebounds. So I love this Josh Hart play. I'm going to get a quick sip of water to clear my throat a little bit. But yeah, the Josh Hart over 12.5 rebounds, I absolutely love. All right, sorry about that. This dry weather in Colorado, I just always have a scratchy throat. All right, before we get into our next pick, I want to talk to you about the Betting Pros Discord. If you are looking to up your game in sports betting, look no further than the exclusive Discord community at bettingpros.com/chat. Link to that is in the description of this video as well. In the Discord, Betting Pros has gathered a team of expert handicappers providing you with free picks for whatever season is currently going on in the sporting world. When I first started these streams, it was NFL and college football, obviously NBA as well, but not only NBA. Now we're talking March Madness, NHL, golf, soccer, player props, live betting, anything you can look for, futures. You can find in the Discord. Get in on the action, connect with like-minded sports betting enthusiasts such as yourselves. Elevate your own betting strategy by gaining insight from the pros that are in the Discord. So join us in the Discord today. Take your sports betting experience to the next level. All right, next up, Pacers versus Bulls game. I'm taking Tyrese Haliburton over 11.5 assists, minus 108 odds is the best offered price per the Betting Pros consensus. This is another positive EV play via Betting Pros. Pretty good day overall looking at the prop bet cheat sheet from Betting Pros. And it's kind of similar to the James Harden positive EV play where technically it's listed as over 10.5, but Betting Pros projects Haliburton to have over 12 assists. So we are still getting it above the number that we need him to get at. So again, take it for minus 108 odds as opposed to minus 145, which I think the 10.5 number is at. This is also a pretty nice fade of recent results. He's missed this in 4 straight games. Prior to that, he had cashed in 3 of 4 and in 4 of 6. Now, this line opened up at 10.5 at a much more reasonable number. I unfortunately wasn't able to get it there. Still like it at the 11.5 number, so I'm still recommending that people take it at that number. I mean, this is a play that I am giving out myself. And the matchup is the reason why I really like this play. Now, the Bulls, they're not quite like the Wizards or the Jazz in terms of like almost blindly bet point guard assist props against them. They're not quite that bad, but they're still pretty bad. They are allowing the 7th most assists per game to point guards and the 7th most assists per game to Haliburton's specific playmaking style as well. So yeah, not number 1 or number 2, but top 7 is still pretty good. And this is a matchup that Haliburton has just annihilated recently. Like look at his 3 games this year against the Bulls. All 3 games this year he's had, or not in the 3 games this year against the Bulls, he's had 13, 20, and 14 assists. That's his 3 games. His potential assists, 23, 27, and 27. That's a crazy potential assist number. And we only need him to get to 12. 27 potential assists is nutty. Now, last game, he had 14 assists. That game went into overtime. He still cashed it in regulation, and he still had 27 potential assists. Like he almost doubled his assist to potential assist ratio. Now, I will admit, if you look at the last 10 games for Haliburton and compare that to the rest of his season, even his potential assists are down a little bit. In the last 10 games, he's still averaging the 5th most potential assists in the entire NBA. So down for Haliburton is still really good overall. So I like I like this as a fade of recent results, getting Haliburton 12 or more assists. So the next game technically is the Lakers versus Grizzlies, but again, we're passing on that game, so nothing there. So the next game that we are actually going to talk about is in the Pistons versus Timberwolves game, and perfect timing for Giovanni Gonzalez, Cade Cunningham over 6.5 assists. I wouldn't play that personally. The Timberwolves are not a defense that give up a lot of assists to point guards. I personally, even though plus money is pretty good and 6.5 is a low number, I personally wouldn't play that. What I am playing is Anthony Edwards over 27.5 points. Minus 115 odds is the best offered price per the Betting Pros consensus. Another slightly positive expected value play here. Betting Pros projects Ant to score 28 points in this matchup. So just as slight as it can be, but still over the number that we need him to get. Now, Sam, and I'll get to your question after this. I'm I'll admit that it's a little bit scary backing Anthony Edwards in this game because of a blowout potential. Now, to answer someone's question before, I did look at his first quarter numbers for this one, but his over-under was like 8.5, and it was like minus 135 towards the over. So I didn't like his first quarter points for this one. I did look into that one, though. But even in a potential blowout, I still really like backing Anthony Edwards in this game tonight. It's just such a juicy matchup against the Pistons. They're allowing the 4th most points per game to his shooting profile and the 2nd most points per game, both to his scoring and his playmaking style as well. And whenever I look at these profiles, I want to dig into the numbers to see, okay, like where exactly is Anthony Edwards scoring and what do the defenses, in this case, the Pistons, what do they give up? And now I'll get into that. The Pistons are allowing the 3rd most points per game specifically to pick and roll ball handlers in the NBA. Now, that's on the entire season. You can't look at a sample size for whatever reason for this type of stat. I don't understand why. It doesn't matter. But on the entire season, the Pistons are the 3rd worst defense when it comes to guarding pick and roll ball handlers. Anthony Edwards literally doubles the next closest guy on the Timberwolves in terms of points as the main pick and roll ball handler. He scores the most on the Timberwolves. And again, is over double the next closest guy, which is Mike Conley. And if you look at since Karl-Anthony Towns went down, Anthony Edwards is averaging the 8th most points per game via drives in the entire NBA. So not exactly as a pick and roll ball handler, but driving to the basket, he's scoring, like I said, the 8th most points per game in the entire NBA, specifically via drives. Another reason why I like this play and why it's a good matchup is because the Pistons do a horrible job fouling, meaning they foul a ton. They fouled the 4th highest rate over the past 10 games and the 2nd highest rate over the entire season. Now, Anthony Edwards has not drawn as many fouls recently as he does on the season. But if you look at the season, he averages the 5th most free throw attempts per game via drives in the entire NBA. This is also a nice fade of recent results. He's missed this in 2 straight games. He's only scored 16 and 23 points. Prior to that, he had cashed it in 4 straight games and had 30 points in all 4 of those games as well. So I think this is a great opportunity for Anthony Edwards. Do I think Jaden McDaniels goes over 3.5 rebounds? I did not look into that play at all, to be honest with you. I don't have any insight. I believe the Pistons, I don't know if they're a great matchup for rebounds because they play a lot of big, long guys, but I don't know. I can't comment on that one, unfortunately. But all right, we are 9. I guess that was pick number 10. No, that was pick number 9. We have 3 left. Before we get into the last 3, I want to talk to you about the Betting Pros app. You can find it, bettingpros.com/apps. I've mentioned a ton on this stream. This is a positive EV play via Betting Pros. What I mean by that is I'm looking at the prop bet cheat sheet that you can find via the app. And then you can find all of Betting Pros recommended picks based on the lines that the sportsbooks are offering and the Betting Pros projections. That's where I'm saying they project Steph over this. They project Anthony Edwards over this. It's all from the prop bet cheat sheet. All of the picks that I lock in, you can tail them on the app as well, bettingpros.com/Modi. You can also get access to a free trial. So if you download the Betting Pros app, you can get access to a free trial of their premium offering. And then they have a bet sync function, sync your bets through all the different sportsbooks via the app, which is amazing because you don't need to manually go in and track anything. It does it all for you. So really awesome tool, the Betting Pros app, bettingpros.com/apps. All right, next game, Rockets versus Thunder. I'm taking Amen Thompson over 8.5 rebounds, best offered at -113 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. So Thompson is similar to Josh Hart in that he's not actually a center. He's actually the opposite position. He's listed as a point guard, but he rebounds like a center. He's kind of like Ben Simmons, where he can't shoot. He's a pretty good playmaker and a great guard rebounder. And he has a great matchup against the Thunder as well to collect a bunch of rebounds. Since Şengün has been out, Amen Thompson has been doing a really, really good job getting a bunch of rebounds. He's gone over 8.5 rebounds in 3 of his last 5 games. But in both games that he missed, he had exactly 8. That would be a bummer if that happened again tonight, if he got hooked and he had exactly 8 rebounds again. But that at least shows you the floor that he has with his rebounds. And in the same 5-game stretch, he has the most rebound opportunities on the Rockets, more than their centers, Jock Landale, Jabari Smith Jr. That's per game, so it doesn't count the game that Jabari missed. It's per game. It's not total. And he averages the most actual rebounds on the Rockets as well. And then, as I mentioned, it's a great matchup. The Thunder are allowing literally the most rebounds in the NBA, specifically to Amen Thompson's rebounding style. So I love this play. I think it's a really, really good one. Next up, Spurs versus Jazz game. I'm taking Victor Wembanyama. You might have heard of him. Over 22.5 points, best offered at -115 odds. So if you just strictly look at the matchup here, this is an amazing matchup for Wemby. He should easily be able to go over this number. Now he's listed as questionable and he missed the last game. But if he ends up playing, then we just get this play refunded. No harm, no foul there. He has been a little bit hit or miss recently, I will say. He's gone over this number and / under this number in exactly half of his games. So over, under, whatever. It's 5 of his last 10. But it's like wild swings. He's either crushing the over or he's not even getting close. In all 5 games that he went over this number, he had 27 or more points. In all 5 games that he went under this number, he didn't even get to 17, right? Or above 17. He was 17 or fewer. In all 5 games, he went under. So he's a little bit hard to trust. This is also just a pretty tank-tastic game between these two teams. None of them are really trying to win, even though the Spurs did just beat the Suns. So maybe I'm wrong, but 2 really bad teams that are losing a lot. But if you just look at the matchup, he should be able to dominate. The Jazz are allowing literally the most points per game to his shooting profile and the 3rd most points per game to his scoring profile. So if you're looking to bet Spurs Jazz, the way to go is to bet on Wemby and his over points. Admittedly, it's scary because it's a game where, again, nobody's trying to win. Last up, our 12th and final pick before we get into the same game parlay. Suns versus Nuggets game. I'm taking Devin Booker over 26.5 points, -111 odds per the Betting Pros consensus. Now, this is listed in the comments here as a lean. The only reason why this is not a full unit play is because I need to know who's playing first. Like, to me, I think it's irresponsible to tell people to put their money in a game in which the Nuggets are playing when 4/5 of their starting lineup are on the injury report. Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. are listed as probable, so they should play. Still an uncertainty. While Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon are listed as questionable. Now, the most important thing here is that Jokic and Murray play. If both of these guys play, then I'm most likely going to upgrade this to a full unit. So make sure to check the app to see if you can get the most up-to-date odds if you're able to find some value there. And then follow me on Twitter as well, and I'll post I'll post something. If one of them misses, then I'm going to have to reevaluate and just look into it a little bit more. But in terms of the matchup and everything, I love this for Devin Booker. Somehow he's actually never played the Nuggets, or not never. Somehow he hasn't played the Nuggets yet this season. In every game that these two teams have played, he's missed. But his ability to pull up from the mid-range, to slither around pick and rolls and kind of put Jokic in a pick and roll, and he just puts the defense a little bit in a blender. The Nuggets defense is really, really good. But in talented guys like Booker, any type of drop coverage with Jokic, he's just going to kill you. And if they blitz him, which is possible, then he could either blitz him, maybe he passes, he gets off the ball and gets it back, or it's an assist game that obviously wouldn't help for our points. But they play him in different ways, and he should be able to score a ton against them. In their 6-game playoff series last year, he hit this in every single game except for the very last one. But that last game, if you remember, game 6, that game was a blowout, like in the first quarter, and didn't even come close. Now, him and Kevin Durant have the same shot profile. They both pull up a lot from the mid-range, pull up a lot off of pick and rolls, pull up from 2-point range specifically. In that the game that these two teams last played each other, Booker missed. Kevin Durant had 35 points. So, yeah, I would say it's also probably a good matchup for Kevin Durant as well. The only reason why I'm going with Booker is because he's been on fire recently. So he came back from an injury and had an epic cold streak. For him, like a brutal stretch of games. Since then, he's been on fire. He's gone over this number in 3 straight games. And Devin Booker is one of those guys that I like to ride during a heater, not someone that I like to fade recent results. So in a high, Fricola as a potential sponsor, I honestly don't know what that means. Hopefully that's not super inappropriate. I'm getting in trouble for saying that. But in this high-profile matchup, Suns-Nuggets, I think he's going to go off. I just need to see who plays. So with that in mind, this Suns-Nuggets game is definitely the best game of the slate. Clippers 76ers would be good if Joel Embiid was playing. So the same game parlay I have is going to be in this game. It's plus 455 odds. I'm taking Devin Booker over 26.5 points. Love Devin Booker in this one. I'm taking Nikola Jokic over 28.5 points. In an important game like this, I think Jokic is going to dominate. Obviously, he has to play, but I think he will. And I also like Michael Porter Jr. over 2.5 made 3-pointers as well. That's my 3 leg same game parlay plus 455 odds. And that was it. That was my same game parlay of the day. If you're looking to build your own same game parlay, check out the Betting Pros Same Game Parlay Builder. In same game parlays, you can combine multiple bets within a single NBA game. And the cool part about using the Betting Pros Same Game Parlay Builder is you can cough suppressant. Okay, cough suppressant, cough drops. Good to know. The awesome part about the Betting Pros Same Game Parlay Builder is you can leverage different insights depending on how you want to build it. You can use correlated bet recommendations. You can use positive EV ratings, cover probability, a ton more. So perfect your betting strategy by analyzing the Betting Pros overall correlation grades and projections. Stay ahead of the curve by following the latest same game parlays posted by fellow bettors on the app as well. Start building winning parlays today at bettingpros.com/parlay. And that's all we got. DeMar matchup real quick. It's a good matchup on paper. He just put up 47 points against them. That always makes me nervous after that blow up of a game. But if you just look at the matchup, it's really good for DeMar. And that's all we got. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I know this was a little bit longer, but we had a monster slate of games. Let's hope we can continue our hot streak today. Make sure to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel, like the stream. Make sure to check out the app, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff, and have a good one.